provenance fraud, costing the UK food industry over £11 billion a year? Why does the retailer feel the need to create fake farm brands? Why does the food manufacturer need to create fake farm brands? Why does the butcher feel the need to trade as local but buy imported? Why does the restaurant feel the need to sell on quantity, not quality? Why does there need to be £3 billion subsidy propping up the agricultural industry in one of the world's wealthiest countries with a doorstep population nearing 70 million? Why have 50% of remaining family farms gone out of business since the year 2000? Why do fewer than half of UK adults know butter comes from a cow? Why do 40% of 4-year-olds not know where milk is from? Why are there more and more scare stories on pig production, chicken production, egg production, and more recently dairying? Why are increasing numbers of farmers unwilling to reveal their address for fear of animal rights activists? Why does 72% of people believe there is an issue with food fraud in the UK? There is an urgent need for a flow and currency of truth from farmer to consumer, and that is provenance.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Chandler and I'm a 5th generation dairy farmer from Lye End, which is in the Vale of the Severn Vale.
I'm Mel Squires, I'm Regional Director for the NFU in the South West.
Davy Hughes, I'm a Emeritus Professor of Food Marketing at Imperial College London.
I am Adam Banks, I am the head chef at 15 Cornwall.
My name's Emily Scott, I'm the chef and owner at the St Tudor Inn.
Joe Evans, Green Cow Kitchens.
My name's Ross Geach and I run a market garden business called Padstow Kitchen Garden.
I'm Roger Olver. I run the Cornish Duck Farm here. We're very proud of our provenance.
Provenance is everything to this region, the southwest, the west country. Every county has its own distinct brand and understanding, particularly with a family farming membership base that we have. Our farmers are predominantly family farms in this part of the world.
I can't speak for whether or not our experience here is indicative of a national trend or else, obviously. But what we are certainly finding is that the provenance story is as an important element as the quality of what's on their plate.
Is that globally, not just in the UK, consumers have got an increasing appetite, not just for food, but from where the food comes from. And what they're short of is trust in those that provide the food. And so they're looking for leadership there. I'm pleased to see companies like yourself, like Happerley, looking at that, where they recognise that appetite that consumers have for food provenance. And if you can be part and parcel of building trust in the food system, then that's brilliant.
To eat seasonally, to eat locally, to make sure that we are kind of like investing in the growers that are around us instead of buying from, I don't know, Spain.
It really is identifying with the consumers, etc. Really showing where their milk's coming from and giving us that kind of brand to do that.
It's different than buying bulk because they know that everything that comes from here has been born here, has been reared here, has been slaughtered here, and we deliver to the end user.
It's funny how much more people are actually starting to care about where the food comes from, and they all say to me about if they haven't used it by the end of the week, how it's still just as fresh as when they first picked it up. I suppose that's the difference between collecting something that's been harvested in the morning and collecting something from a big supermarket or a big chain that could have been harvested days and days ago.
I'm passionate about provenance, passionate about bringing something a little bit different to the table, so keeping it simple but also being true to what I think and believe in.
We source our suppliers county by county, so we work with over 200 local suppliers to ensure that we have products of real provenance within each of our stores.
I often get people come up and they see free range duck and they say, just how free range is it? Because they've heard such horror stories of things like this. And I tell them what we do. And my final shot is, if you're not convinced, come and see for yourself.
Every single time a chef comes and visits and spends a couple of hours up at the farm, they become a better customer because they realise the hard work that goes in, they realise how fresh the product is, they realise that we're practicing as many organic methods as possible, and they realise that we're going to have problems. I had a chef come up and he was like, "Where's all the produce?" And I was like, "Well, it hasn't rained. In this April we didn't have one shower." So that makes the chef suddenly realise he is working hard up there to try and grow us a really good product, and that makes them a better customer.
Always like making sure that we know where everything's coming from. We work really closely with the suppliers that we use, and almost build like a relationship with them.
The British people and their culture really like to know where their food's come from.
We're really seeing that people really care about where their food is coming from, and understanding that actually they're making a conscious choice to support other local people within their communities, and they understand the economic benefit of that.
You're always going to get the consumer that doesn't really care where their milk comes from, but you've got an increasing amount of people that really do care where their milk is coming from, or where their meat is coming from, where different produce is coming from. So with with Cotswold Dairy, they trust where their milk's coming from. They know that the farmers get more for their milk. So I think that's a different choice as well. And also, if they're local, they want to have milk that comes locally. They see cows in fields and they think, oh, that's where my milk's coming from.
I feel we're in a very strong position because our provenance is there for everyone to see. And I always invite customers here, especially chefs, and also front of house, because if you're worried about provenance when you're out eating, the first person you're going to ask is the waiter, waitress. And if they say, "Oh, I don't know, I'll have to go and ask chef," things like this, I say to our chefs, when you come and look around the farm, bring front of house, so that then if I come to your restaurant and I ask a question about the product, the front of house can say, "I know their duck, I've been there, they love their duck."
And they'll rave about your duck, they'll sell your duck.
And we've always, wanted to buy more locally, but the procurement is the challenge. It's cost, it's seasonality, it's about quality as well.
The ultimate challenge is cost. I have to charge a little bit more for my produce, and a lot of people don't understand the reasons why it has to cost a little bit more.
When we can be that transparent with the supply chain and talk to our customers about actually where the food's coming from, they should hopefully start to understand why they may be paying just that little bit more for it.
Provenance itself, in other words being transparent, doesn't necessarily need to come at a premium, but perhaps the quality of the ingredients does, and that's the difference the consumer needs to make.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's that's a difficult bit for us as a retailer, is finding that mechanism to be able to communicate that to the customer. Obviously, with what we do with Happerley, that's going to give us an opportunity to be able to be transparent to the customer and give them full control of it.
And you'll notice, unashamedly, on all our paraphernalia is maps of where it's from. We've got where we don't grow things, we have a map on our menu. People read it, they look at it, and when we write our menus out, we try and talk about where it's come from and who's found it, and that absolutely adds to the experience, because they know when they're eating that bit of venison, they know that last week it was our gamekeeper 100 yards away that shot it as part of its vermin control. I mean, it's such a pure, authentic experience.
There's things like independent coffee shops. For them, it's all been about the coffee and where the coffee beans are from. Now it's where's the milk from, and how does the milk texture. So we test all of our milk for texturing or the frothability, and that's really important to them, and they convey that through to their customer. I think the independent shops are very good at that. I think Mid-Counties Co-op have been very good at that. So I think depending on where the locality is, they've been taking it through. And we do farm visits, so we invite all of our customers to come to the farm, and I think once they've come to the farm, they really realise where the milk's coming from.
The consumer is asking for it.
Yes.
And the milk producers, suppliers are trying to produce it, but Happerley does come in and plug that gap.
You're definitely seeing greater and greater interest in provenance.
Yeah, definitely.
All the way through the chain.
Yeah, all the way through the chain. I think you're always still going to have the problems, whereas restaurants start getting a lot bigger, you're going to get a lot more bean counters involved, and you're going to let a lot of people saying, we could be buying that broccoli from there, we could be getting it £1 a kilo cheaper from over there. I think it's always going to happen in in any business. So it's trying to get the message across as to why mine costs a little bit more.
Yeah. I also think it's good for the farmers, because the farmers, if they sell to a sterile abattoir, they don't really know them, they just sell the animals to them. They see no more of them, and that's it. Whereas if they know that the consumer through Happerley can trace right back to them, then I think it makes them feel a little bit proud of the fact that they have got provenance and they have got a brand. It's not just producing mass to sell to a middleman.
I get so excited about kind of what I get to choose and how I get to do it.
We run an organic livestock farm, beef and sheep. We have some pigs, but we don't run those as part of the farm. We run those in the woods, so they are woodland pigs.
Excellent.
And we use woodland pigs purely for the restaurant here. They're not a commercial entity. We don't sell pigs to the wider market. So pork comes on the menu whenever they are ready. That's the whole point. And we use the pigs in the woods because it's a fantastic way of clearing understory so that the guys can get on with the planting and everything. And then other things are foraged, wild garlic, mushrooms, puffballs. We've got countless fruit trees, apples, plums.
Everything comes in daily to me, and it's all seasonal. You will not find strawberries on my menu in December.
No.
You won't find blackberries on my menu in March.
We do little food tastings with them. We, as soon as, because we're completely seasonal, as soon as a new vegetable arrives that's in season, we'd like showing them, telling them about that one item.
Your food bill, you could slash that quite simply by switching meat suppliers, switching vegetable suppliers, both of whom I know to be great Provenance champions, really. Does it really press hard on your margins, sustaining your view on Provenance and being very strict in terms of
It doesn't really, because my menu is small, so some of the criticism I come up against is not an extensive menu. My menu is 5 starters, 5 mains, 5 puddings. You get a special.
So that helps you cost control.
That's completely, you're in control of what's
coming in. You don't have the
in.
wastage.
You don't have it.
We don't waste anything. No. But actually, it is really tough on the chefs. This restaurant business purchases from the farm at wholesale market rates. The price for the beef, and as you'll know, organic beef this week got surpassed £5 a kilo. So when we're killing out a steer of 350 kilos, that's a huge chunk of their budget on beef, and then they've got a little bit of fillet and a little bit of ribeye and everything, but they've got a huge amount of chuck and shin and all the other bits. So carcass utilisation is doable because you can always make mince up and make burgers and all that kind of stuff. Making it profitable as compared to going to the wholesaler and just buying the bit you want for that menu is really tough and an ongoing challenge.
We try and cut back waste on everything. We peelings. We make sure they get either composted down. The stalks from certain vegetables, we try and ferment them. We try and use everything that we can. We don't, I don't know, maybe it's just I try and make a conscious effort to use the whole thing.
I mean, you may find that the portion sizes have dropped a little as the prices have gone up, but they still want to maintain that quality and provenance.
I think it would be great for restaurants to be able to, if they are using local producers, they should be shouting about it.
There is a growing number of people who would rather have a smaller meal but know exactly where everything comes from.
I think that's a really encouraging trend.
Most of my chefs play the game. They advertise that they're using Cornish duck, and rightly so. They're paying the premium, the diners pay the premium, and they're using an awful lot of it. But then I get some restaurants who will use us for a couple of months, and then you think, orders have suddenly gone down. But duck is still on the menu as Cornish duck. And I had one restaurant that really took the biscuit last year. They advertised Cornish duck breast, this is for the Christmas menu, Cornish duck breast and confit leg with a £3 premium because it was Cornish duck, and I'd never supplied them.
We're in a post-Brexit agenda now. We're in an industry which has got to feed more people, and those people you know, I think all of them would want to know where their food comes from.
I can't feed everyone. It would be a really hard job. I think that, you know, you see the massive cauliflower and broccoli growers around Cornwall, the massive new potato growers. They're doing an amazing job, and they've got their work cut out. And I think sometimes they can kind of get slated for taking up too much land. Some of the broccolis that they leave in the field, sometimes they rent a farm and they don't touch a broccoli or collie. But they're under a lot of pressure to produce a lot of veg, and the country needs a lot of veg, and I'd rather the big boys be doing it than us importing it.
And you've come back into the industry to take on the family dairy farm with a bunch of fresh ideas.
Yes. Well, I've had exposure to a different industry and a different sort of supply chain. So from there, I've come back to the dairy industry, seeing how they do it, and I've seen sort of maybe if you call it the failings, but areas that perhaps that could be improved, and that's what I'm seeking to try and do. The kind of thinking that I've had, certainly when I've looked at the dairy industry, is that you can either go big or you can go niche. Yeah. And certainly the guys that are going niche seem to are doing better. They seem to be happier. And it's also, they're holding up the tradition of more of the family-run farm as opposed to the factory-run farm.
Post-Brexit, you know, as we go through those negotiations, as we actually work out how we're going to trade with the rest of the world, it's got to be the RAU being an international brand. It's recognised, you know, in all those different countries, particularly the Asian continent, those areas, and that's got to be an opportunity for our own entrepreneurs. You know, we've got to obviously work out how we're going to export more. Yeah. We've got, you know, that could be, and even that, you know, going back to the Provenance message, that is another part of it. You know, and actually that UK brand, you know, some of the work we've done in the past with overseas countries is that actually, I think the food standards we have here, the quality that we produce, the type of food we produce, all has an international market. And that's got to be an opportunity.
Clearly the world will, in farming and our agri-food supply chains, change and evolve with how we see our world of Brexit continue and transit. So I think that is part of it. Red Tractor has provided a real bedrock of consistency for our agri-food supply chains. But there's more work to do, there always will be, but it's protected our marketplace for our farmers, and that's been important. But that doesn't mean to say there's a whole host of room to add value.
The whole industry can benefit from transparency and provenance, and we all know the consumer increasingly wants it. It is ultimately the consumer's choice on how they want their food produced and what they want to pay for it. The problem now is they're not empowered to make that choice. There is the opportunity to build on Red Tractor and arguably the best audited food industry in the world with the flow of truth. Now that is Happerley, that is Provenance, and that can only be for the benefit of every business and every consumer.